You want hot wings?
Teriyaki wings.
Oh.
That was what my second thing was going to be.
Right.
I could see that.
This is UnpauseIt, a podcast by a family of geeks.
Welcome, everybody, to the table. Who do we have at the table? Let's start with the person to my immediate left. Who are you?
My name is Willis. I like to belch, although my dad won't let me. It's kind of crude.
On the podcast.
We don't let you in other places, too, but anyway.
And I think unicorns are fluffy and can fly.
What is your handle?
I am the sauce, good sir.
Good sir. How about the person across from me?
Hi.
What's your name?
Furious girl.
What's your real name?
Just first name
Georgia.
only.
Yeah, Georgia. And what's something that you are known for in this family?
Kittens.
Wow. The dangerous kind, too. Kittens. The next person down the pipe.
_ the dad abides on Twitter. I'm the dad. Yes, you cannot belch. Focus.
I am the mother. My name is Rachel, and I go by Lady Disdain. But we are the podcast family for UnpauseIt, which is our podcast that will cover all manner of geeky, nerdy, creative glory that exists in cinematic universe and such. We just finished watching a movie we've seen before, so let's add that caveat to it.
So Iron Man released May 2nd, 2008. And it is 2 hours and 6 minutes long, directed by Jon Favreau, who plays Happy Hogan in the movie, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jeff Bridges, the dude.
The dude abides, much like the
Very
dude abides.
underrated as a villain in this one. We're going to get into villains maybe a little bit later on that one. But he was Tony Stark's surrogate father figure that tried to kill him. Spoiler alert. So, pretty tough when you really think about it. And some good people in there. This one grossed at the box office on that opening day $98 million. It grossed in the United States $318 million. And cumulative worldwide gross was $585,174,222. A massive hit. The budget for this is estimated to be less than the subsequent movie, which we'll get to, The Incredible Hulk. It's an estimated budget of $140 million. So it made its money back, started off the MCU, got the ball rolling, and made for some good times for us all.
We are not going to qualify any of the following discussion as being spoilers. This movie's been out for 10 years, and it does kick off the first chapter of our discussion of the Avengers series. What movie did we just finish watching?
Iron Man.
Yes.
And the Avengers series, what is more commonly known as the Marvel MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
It's different than the comics. For those of you who are comic readers maybe listening to us, we are not comic readers. I have read the stories without reading the comics.
We took a lot of notes. And Georgia, you took notes. Willis, you had some awesome... I kind of took notes for you, I'm just going to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're quite welcome. I tried. But yeah, we jumped into it. So you guys,
She also took notes for me.
I did take notes. I was the note taker.
Right.
I really was. Oh, Patriarch, what should we start off talking about first?
Let's start off right in the middle of it. Right when we're going to have a question of going around the round table here. When Tony comes back, they want to take him to the hospital. Everyone's concerned about 3 months. They thought he was dead. He's like, first things first, I want an American cheeseburger. He wanted a burger. He was in the middle of Afghanistan, somewhere in the Middle East. We don't really know for sure exactly where. It's maybe a fictitious country. What did you say that you wanted to have if you were gone for 3 months, stuck in a cave, building an Iron Man suit? What would be the first thing you wanted to eat when you got back?
An In-N-Out burger, because where I live, there's no such thing in our state. And I'm kind of sad about that.
It's coming.
Yeah, apparently that was just announced like recently. They're actually going to bring In-N-Out to Colorado.
Yes! I was hoping that it would have been an In-N-Out burger when I first saw it, but it was a Burger King burger. Nobody's perfect.
You know, I like Burger King.
So what about you, Willis?
I would also like a cheeseburger with extra pickles, a lot of ketchup, eggs.
An egg on top of your burger. I like it.
Inside the breads.
Right.
With pickles and ketchup.
I would probably like pizza. I'd like a supreme pizza, just because I love pizza. I think that would be what I would go for. What were you gonna ask for after 3 months of being in a cave?
Some super hot wings.
Ew.
Just lots of messy hot wings, just all over. Hot wings.
That was my second.
Georgia was not born yet when this movie came out.
True.
Wow.
Right, she's 9.
So.
It's coming up on 10 years for this. You were 2008.
Wow. So Infinity is really almost making exactly 10-year mark when that comes out.
Right, which is probably why they didn't do the Han Solo movie on that one, even though that makes more sense. Willis was very young, didn't see it until he was much older. Yeah, you were way older. I don't think you didn't see Iron Man until right when Captain America was coming out. And that goes to our point.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, how old were you when Captain America came out? Probably about 6 or so. So that was when we started saying, hey, you can watch Iron Man, these movies and everything. They're safe enough for that. There are some risque moments.
Yeah, we had to fast forward a couple times or say, hey, avert your eyes.
But that's a part in the movie that happens that we just totally kind of stopped and asked this question of ourselves. What are a couple of the thoughts that you have, Lady Disdain?
First of all, I have followed Robert Downey Jr.'s career since, I'm going to go back, guys. This is way too old for you, and someday you'll see this movie, the movie Weird Science. Robert Downey Jr. plays in that movie. He plays a teenager. He's a jerk. But he is such a good actor and has been a good actor throughout his entire career. And I knew of him, and when I saw him in this role, playing Tony Stark, pretty much Robert Downey Jr., that actor, is Tony Stark, in my opinion. I think they cast that well, and I think they cast almost all of the major roles well. Did you guys like Tony Stark, the guy who plays him as Robert Downey Jr.? Did you think he did a good job?
I think he did a good job because Tony Stark is pretty much a jerk trillionaire.
Was it Playboy, philanthropist?
Billionaire.
Billionaire playboy.
We're confining our comments to this movie as if the other movies hadn't yet come out. So we're going to save any reflecting commentary for the later movies. I do not like Terrence Howard. I don't like him as Rhodey.
That's going to be the only... There'll definitely be a few crossovers from the movies that come, because now we see where things that maybe had to switch gears because they didn't get Terrence Howard back. Mm-hmm. It is my opinion, Terrence Howard is not a good actor. I just don't like it in anything that he's ever done, and Don Cheadle is a tremendous actor.
Which comes into play later. Yes.
Much more talented. I know this. We're not talking about other movies too, but I think that it would have been interesting to see him in this role on this one. Kind of a retrospective look as well. Yeah. Do you remember the first time you saw the movie? You kids were young. I don't know if you'd ever remember this first time.
I think I was 0.
Wow, that's a really good memory. What about you, Willis? Was this the first Avengers movie you saw? Were we that good of parents where we made sure you saw it in order of release?
No.
We were so good.
No.
You're not good.
You had no idea if it was going to be in order or if it was going to be another backstory or something.
I don't remember.
I think his first one was Thor.
I think you might be right about that.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And don't derail. We're not going to talk about Thor. Thor is coming.
Right.
We're going to talk about Thor.
Yeah, we're going to do this.
You're making me want to talk about it.
No Thor, but we'll talk about Iron Man. So tonight, what was one of your biggest notes that you have on your note sheet there, Georgia?
There's an airplane copter.
Explain that.
It was the copter that they used to pick up Tony Stark when he landed in the sand.
Yes, in the first act.
You said copter.
Helicopter,
yes.
Yeah.
It's a helicopter that looks like an airplane.
It had kind of wings on it to navigate into the mountains type of thing.
And it was fat.
I don't know what that was called. We can look that up.
Both of these kids and you've all ridden in a helicopter, standard one, a Bell 407.
Yeah, we don't need to ride in a helicopter again.
But I want to.
You can do it without.
Yeah.
But even if we go on a tour, you guys can go on the tour.
If anyone's listening out there, apparently would like another helicopter ride.
The Army should actually use mechanism of helicopters on the battlefield. Blades everywhere, yay.
Blades are scary and dangerous.
Yes.
You had a comment, I think, during the first part of the movie when Tony Stark is coming out and Rhodey is getting on his case about, hey, I've been waiting here for 3 hours for you to get on this plane. What does he say, Willis?
Waiting on you now, and my dad has been using it for years. I had no idea where it came from until now.
Is that where you got that?
Yes. And I've been waiting for that to come along here and be known for a long time now.
So annoying because he says it to me. He says it to me all the
say it to
time. I'm
everybody.
like, oh, you are not waiting on me. I'm
Waiting on you
it's
now.
So annoying. You're not.
So next podcast we'll be opened with.
Waiting on you now. No.
No, never. Yes.
Thank God we didn't call the podcast Waiting on You Now. But yeah.
But that was a good moment when you all kind of looked at me and I'm like, this is where it came from.
I didn't look at you.
I remember
You were
Willis.
eating.
Willis also had a comment during. Do you remember the first act? So it's when they bring Tony. They're threatening him, saying you need to build this for us.
Jericho, Miss Leah.
Yeah, and he comes out and he's having Jensen, his friend, translate for him. And the guy's like, "Yeah, he's going to set you free." And Tony shakes his hand to him. What does he say?
No, he's not. And then Jensen says, no, he's not. And the guy can't speak language, English, so he's like...
Because they know they have to stay on the down low, but they both know they're like, no, we're going to die after this.
Give me a thought, Willis, on the movie about Iron Man and what you think to you and how you like it and everything.
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, seeing how all it is and seeing how I'm not a big fan of it, maybe 4 to 5. I'm not a really big fan of that movie.
That's okay. That's okay.
Right. And also, this is the only movie in our collection that's not on a Blu-ray. It's on a DVD, actually.
Right. I thought about that too because really you guys have had the opportunity to see the technology increase it's been a decade and you're seeing the more recent movies and you compare back to that. You're like, you might like the cooler, newer stuff better, which totally makes sense. Georgia, what do you think about it? What's your overall feeling of the movie?
I say it's a level awesome, which I give it 5 stars.
5 stars?
5 out of 5 or 5 out of 10? Give us your scale.
6.
5 out of 6.
Okay, 5 out of 6.
So she does 6 stars.
I couldn't fit
I think
the
we
rest.
kind of are like having diverging scale.
It's divergent scales, but we're going to make sense of this in a minute. I give it, on a movie rating, I would give it about an 8 out of 10. Maybe an
That's
8.5 or so.
healthy.
That's how you like it, though.
I do like it. I like it a lot. There are some problems with it, structure and story-wise. This is not about, this Ironmonger was in the comics and he wasn't fleshed out. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute with Marvel villains. That's going to be a question I'm going to ask you guys here in a second.
Before we go any farther, you hear us talking about acts. So if you've ever seen a play on the stage, they usually will divide the acts up by intermissions. Same thing kind of happens in movies where you can kind of separate the movie up into mostly three distinctive parts, sometimes more, like Last Jedi was this way. So the first act is when Tony is in the cave, okay? And it ends once he breaks out and he gets back to the States. The second act is all the stuff where he's building the new Iron Man, the Mark II, right? I love that you brought that out too, Willis, and you're just like, here comes the Mark II. It's like, yes, he's building Mark II. That's the second act. The third act is when now you realize Obadiah is actually the bad guy, the main bad guy. And
Right.
the whole rest of that is Tony having to fight back and fight him.
Yeah, and there was not much foreshadowing of Obadiah being the bad guy. Comic book readers have told me that they knew, obviously, that he was going to be the Ironmonger type thing, whatever. Mm-hmm. But my handle, _ the dad abides, the dude being cast. So we talked about Robert Downey Jr., we talked about Terrence Howard, but the enemy here, I want to talk about villains. What did you guys think that this villain was, I don't know, scary, but a worthy villain of Iron Man, especially at the beginning of Iron Man? Or was he just kind of a, whatever kind of villain? What do you think, Georgia?
I think it gave us hints that he was going to be the villain when he was at the party and said that he was the person who violated.
That's the beginning of the third act when we find out that he is the villain. But before that, like when he's in bed, like they wake him up, and we didn't really know until then. So that's when he was starting. But do you think he was a good villain? Do you think that it made it interesting, him as a villain?
It made it interesting because the movie wouldn't be that movie if he wasn't doing all that stuff. But I would say he wouldn't be a good villain.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Willis?
What do I think of Obadiah?
Yeah, as a villain and other villains like Fire Lord Ozai in Avatar, who's an ultimate villain.
Or Darth Vader.
I don't think his intention is to be a villain. He just wants to make money or sell weapons or something. Mm-hmm. Something that some bizarre kind of dumb reason.
Okay, so he's just greedy.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Though,
Which is kind of mediocre. It sounds like you're giving him kind of a lukewarm, like halfway, like, but he's not like, not pure evil.
He doesn't want to be bad. He's just like, nah.
Just doesn't care about good.
to ping off of you, I felt like they were kind of weak with his evolving that villain's character, because you did, for the most part, see a guy who was worried about money. He was worried about running the company. He was worried that Tony Stark was going to ruin his own money, chances of making money, because he's saying, oh, we're not going to build weapons anymore. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, he starts killing people. He's like, nope, we're going to do this and that. Now, I know he called the hit on Tony. I would have loved to find out, is this the only time you've killed people? And I do remember thinking during this movie, oh my gosh, and let's talk about this movie only. Oh my gosh, was he the one who... Is he responsible somehow for Tony's dad dying?
Right.
And that came up. And you don't get that answered in this movie. But I felt like it was like suddenly he's now a killer. He's going to go kill Pepper Potts. He's going to kill these kids and this mom in a van. He's going to kill Tony Stark and kill everybody. It just seemed like such a big jump for him to suddenly be a killer.
True. But we've seen, though, that he was doing underhanded things. Mm-hmm. He was running the company. They did set up some things on there when they did that really good opening. So... the backstory was in the prologue, which was set against him getting an award. So it's like something that you would see anyway at an awards that was in the movie. Like, oh, and it pans out and they're an awards. And I'm like, what a clever way to give us a huge backstory for those of us that don't read comics and draw us into the story. And Obadiah Stane taking over, he was mentioned there as a good guy, taking over after Howard Stark. When he says it, though, after your father died, the tone he says, it makes me think that he did not have anything to do with it at that tone. Yeah. But now that we kind of know some things, it's like, am I reading into that? I don't know. But they missed a couple opportunities with this one, I think.
What character did we meet in this movie that is through all the others?
Mom's favorite character.
Nick Fury. Like
at the end, yes, but what about you, Georgia?
Coulson.
Yeah!
Coulson.
We meet Agent Coulson, which is so cool. I mean, it was kind of fun for me to see him on the screen, but like, oh, it's Agent Coulson, because you do.
That's the first time.
Yeah, and you're just so fond of him, and he meets Pepper Potts right there, and that's the first time you're exposed to him, and it's just cool. I really enjoyed remembering back to being the introduction to Phil Coulson.
Right. Yeah, Phil Coulson. Pepper Potts does well, and Gwyneth Paltrow comes throughout all these movies. They did a good job on casting. What stuck with you the most about the movie, Willis?
Mark I mask.
Yep.
That stuck.
The big
every time.
welds and
every time like Mark I or something is mentioned.
You just think about it.
Like
okay.
in an old video game or something. Yeah. It always goes back to the mask. It's like.
There you go.
Nice. That's an appropriate symbol.
Like Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
How about you? What visual image sticks out on this movie? I
keep seeing all of the times Tony Stark is trying out the thrusters, and he's like, and and there's just his. And one of the things that sticks out to me is like where he's, Jarvis is like, okay, we're gonna pot down, we're gonna, we'll archive everything up, and he's like, no. Let's go fly, and the whole week sometimes you have to run before you walk. And to me, that is Tony Stark.
Right there.
And you see that throughout the rest of his evolution, is that he always wants to run before he walks.
Right.
But that's what stuck with me.
Yeah, I think the image that sticks with me is of the old flathead Ford engine on there. And I think I read a trivia somewhere that was Jon Favreau's personal car. Ooh. And I'm a car guy and everything in there.
You guys know who Jon Favreau is?
No. The director, and he plays Happy. Did you guys know that character?
The director plays Happy.
Yeah.
No wonder Happy is treated like crap.
He may have set that up himself.
Yeah, because he's the one that told him to do that. And he was part of the writing team a little bit, I think. Don't have a full credits list in front of me at the moment. Next time I'll have that up and pulled up and ready to go. But May 2nd, 2008, this came out. Georgia was not born yet. You were about a year and a half old. And we saw this in the theater. One of my favorite theaters here, the Continental Theater. It's a 70-millimeter theater. So it's one of the last ones in town. It's huge, 3.5 stories tall. We saw it in there. The entire back row was filled with nerds. Yay. We stayed till the end. A lot of people, we did too. We are nerds.
Nerds.
But they were comic book superhero nerds. Like they read the comics and everything.
Those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
But wait, there's more.
But there's more. So when you mention it, it does introduce Nick Fury because Samuel L. Jackson is in every movie. Anyway, I think it's in his contract to be in every movie ever made.
It does seem like.
But when he comes out and he's like, and they're like, yeah, and they're clapping. They're like, yeah, clapping. And then he says, talk to you, superhero. You're not the only superhero in the world. Everyone's like, oh, you hear him murmuring, who are we talking about? He's like, I'm going to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative. They went, oh, and they stood up, and we're just, me and my wife were like,
I was kind of like, whoa.
And then it ended. It just ended.
Then it ended. Yeah. We were looking at each other going,
now
that must be something.
Well, but I feel like you knew more about it than I
had
did.
read the whole mythos and educated myself on who these characters were before we went. Iron Man. Final thoughts.
I just want to say that it was really, really high tech at the beginning when we were pressing play and things. Like the word play and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I just love when his thruster fails and he just hits the wall and
Oh, the 10% when he's trying it out. Well, we'll just talk about it as 10% because it won't be that. And then bam!
I gotta do back to the wall. I've never done it.
And then he uses and then the person mechanical thing, he uses the fire extinguisher.
Okay, good one. The 10%. Very funny moments in this one. Final thought on the movie, Willis.
Final thought, rating?
No, you did the rating. Just a final overall thought.
It kind of introduces Tony Stark, and
definitely.
He is one of the most conflicted Avengers.
Very good point. He's conflicted. Yes.
Seriously.
Right, we can see the conflict starting here when it goes into later on movies. Mm-hmm. Final thought on the movie. We're not done. It's not final thought of the podcast. Final thought of the movie.
This was a key movie because, just background, guys. Let's look at where we are. Again, we are almost at 10 years of Avengers
16 movies, I think.
Yeah, and we're almost there. We're almost to Infinity War, which we all are freaking out. We have freaked out multiple times at the trailer. We're like, oh my gosh. But we would have had none of that. This was, in my mind, the superhero movie we all were hoping we could see. And it kicked off this entire universe, Marvel Universe, that is giving us all these storylines and just a bunch of distinct characters and superheroes we never would have met had this not been a success.
Right.
And I think because, I gotta credit Robert Downey Jr., I think had it been anybody else, I don't know that it would have been a success.
True. It was a confluence of good things coming together. My final thought on Iron Man. Mm-hmm. The first Iron Man 1, if you will. Definitely a tentpole. Definitely a risk. Looking at some of the figures on it, it made a lot of money. It didn't make the most money ever. It's not making $1 billion like the subsequent movies. But it had a modest budget of $140 million.
That's very modest.
Very modest, considering that, what was it? Civil War had $250 million budget or something crazy like that. So it was definitely a risk. I kind of knew who Iron Man was a little bit, but I had to research Iron Man before we went to the show. And I like to research things. That's kind of what I do. I like to know things. It wasn't Batman. It wasn't Superman. It wasn't Spider-Man. They didn't have the rights to make a Spider-Man movie. They didn't have the rights to the X-Men. This is kind of a big lawyer thing about Disney buying the rights back of X-Men now by buying 21st Century Fox. But they have to make a deal for Spider-Man, which is why we have this, Tom Holland Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And since it did well, they were able to make all these subsequent movies, and none of them failed as far as the movie they were trying to make. And as we go along on these, some of those ones that were regarded poorly, Thor Dark World, looking right at you, aren't that poor actually when you look at it in context.
Yeah.
So it is not mediocre. As a movie, 8.5 or so out of 10. Mm-hmm. To move on to our next segment,
I'd like to know what you guys plan to spend your half-hour screen time on this next.
Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, ...
Excellent. Am I to understand you're further along in that than somebody, or
no,
you're in different
near,
worlds?
No, Dad is...
Yeah, he's nowhere near.
He's in another galaxy.
Okay.
He didn't start playing it until just a little bit.
A long time ago.
I just want to make sure. I feel like that some of you guys have hit some parts where he has not hit.
No, that was in Mario Odyssey.
That was me because I basically defeated the Ender Dragon, people.
I saw that Ender Dragon, and I was like, that looks like a really big boss.
And now I think I'm on the last kingdom.
Yeah, no spoilers on there. She's on the last kingdom. She's in to fight Bowser.
So, is that your half-hour screen time this week?
Yes, plus Minecraft.
No.
I bet you're also gonna do Stack the States. I will give money on that you will.
Now that, again, just for anyone who didn't understand,
Stack
kid
states.
speaks, stack the states. Stack the states. It's an iPad app, I believe.
It's a geography game.
See,
How are you guys feeling about? You've got 1 week left till Christmas. Anything in particular you're hoping for on the geek side?
A Segway.
Which, by the way, Will is freaked out at the Segway that Obadiah rides in.
He rides in on a Segway. We're like, what?
I want a Segway. I know it's a Segway.
I know,
but
and
I want a Segway.
Tony Stark has a Wii in his little
He did have a
man
Wii.
cave.
There's some tech in there. I did really like, too, just as a side, I love that this movie was one of the first times we see actually augmented interfacing going on, where he is like designing stuff by moving and manipulating in air. So
Right.
that was some really cool tech we saw, which I know you wrote down too. Go ahead.
I want this purse thingy. I don't know what it's called. It's basically you have an app that can program it basically to make a picture that moves. So I'm going to draw a kitten drinking milk.
I know, on your purse.
A billboard purse.
Basically, it's a
Yes.
little bit like an LED purse, I think.
I thought you were gonna say kitten twerking, and I
What are you hoping for Christmas?
A thumb. I'm hoping to play a video game before the end of the year.
That's right. You got what?
Ride a
video-
bicycle before the end of the year. My motorcycle.
Don't you have a video game that isn't even unwrapped yet from like the original packaging?
Yeah, this happened right when I bought Uncharted Lost Legacy because it was on super sale, and it's not even unwrapped yet.
Right?
It's a tear.
Kill it. It's a tear. Come
But-
down.
Tear.
But this will happen. And I am going to play some Super Mario Run this week
Okay.
because it's one-handed tapping.
Oh, that's right. So you were very excited that you found that app that was on something you could do on your phone. You're like, I can do this with one hand.
Wait, that was the other app. Now, you already had Mario Run, but now you're.
Now I'm going to put some time into it and everything. I didn't buy the full version. I'm going to buy the full version and play the whole game. I did play some Mario Kart this weekend. As you tilt it to turn. So that was all right. It was definitely not very precise.
Yeah.
Didn't Dad once since he has no thumbs, didn't he once use his pointer finger for his left thumb?
Yeah, but I can't do that now because since the surgery, the pins are in there and the cast is too bulky.
Oh,
Yes, he did that when I was playing Mario.
just break the remote then.
Shush. Her turn. Quiet.
Oh, what's my turn? What do I get to say?
Anything.
Answer your question.
Oh, the Christmas stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually was hoping, I'm hoping that I'm not going to look at anybody because I have a feeling some people don't have poker faces here. I know I'm hoping for like some kind of step tracker watch kind of thing because I haven't had one for a while. It was broken.
A fit neck or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But also, oh, and I am looking forward to shoes because, guys, I'm old and I have a bunion on my foot, which I have to get addressed. But I have to start wearing flat shoes. No more heels for me. No more heels for Lady Disdain. Mostly I'm just enjoying being around you all, and thank you for all being
Well,
part of
and to
this.
actually honestly answer the question, besides the thumb thing, I would like a log splitter.
What?
Splitting axe.
A splitting axe, eh?
A heavy axe to split wood.
It's very Paul Bunyan of you.
Well, it's also a very good workout, and we have a fire pit.
What is the next movie that we are going to be discussing? I can
Captain America First Avenger?
No.
I don't think so.
Wait,
What do you
Yes.
got?
Georgia.
Thor.
The Incredible Hulk.
Released in 2008, which is the year you were born, which is the same year Iron Man came out.
What was the day?
It was released on June 13th. We are at some point, because I haven't played Zelda Breath of the Wild, we will get you three. I will moderate it because I won't know what the heck I'm talking about. We'll sit down here and say, okay, people, talk to me about Zelda Breath of the
I
Wild.
think it'd be just us two because she just watches and she doesn't really play very much.
What do you
I
think?
only played it for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so be the boys.
I think that I would like to play some Zelda.
We know you've been asking all day, so half hour of
I'm
screen time has
He
been covered.
already had his Zelda. He already played it today.
Okay. Very good. All right, so we're looking forward to the Incredible Hulk covering that next, which is, again, the one I was looking forward to, so I'm very excited about that. And I believe after that is Iron Man, too.
So maybe on Thursday.
Any last words for our audience, everybody? Anyone? Got something?
You know, I wish I could
Just
dance, but
stick
Dad
to
won't
the
let me.
cards.
Stick to the cards.
Just do it.
Just stick to the car.
Coulson,
I don't want it.
when Coulson tells you to stick to the cards, you stick
Just
to the
do
cards.
it.
You don't
Just
really
stick
do it
to the
if
cards.
First Roadie tells you because he has no authority. So
Yeah.
On that note, let's
let's
wish
wrap
everybody
it
a
up.
good night.
Good night.
Or good day, good evening, good morning.
Live
Whatever you're listening to.
long and prosper. Follow us on Facebook. Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and visit UnpauseIt.com.